Hello and welcome to episode 9 of the album review show. We're getting close to the end of season 1 now. We'll probably do 10 episodes and then season 2 will be next. So it's been a great sort of start for us, hasn't it? Season 1, I've enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's that was like our goal to get to, wasn't it? Let's just do 10.
Yeah.
Let's just get season 1 and then we'll know like what this is a little bit more.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been we've had a look at like 10 really great artists and records, and I think it's like quite a strong season 1 to build off of. I'm really excited for the next series and onward in the future what this is going to bring us. So yeah.
And in this episode, we're talking about Dan Croll's latest album, Grand Plan, and we discuss the themes running through the record, elements of the production and songwriting. And yeah, it's just a really fun album. So definitely go and listen to the album and stick around and check out the rest of the episode to see what we've got to say about it. Hello and welcome to the album review show episode 9 with me, Mark.
And me, Paul.
Today we are going to be discussing Dan Croll's latest album, Grand Plan. But first, what is your track of the week this week, Paul?
My track of the week this week is Natalie McCool, A Sun Going Down. Absolutely beautiful track, this. The drum beat's just so like infectious and yeah, it just gets in your like blood, if you know what I mean. And the synths across the board in the song are just such like a rich sound, if you know what I mean. The melody in the songs, it's just a great song. Yeah. I've had that on repeat for a while. So yeah, my track of the week definitely. And we interviewed Natalie McCool, didn't we? And I think that will have already gone out.
Yeah, a couple of episodes ago. So check back on our YouTube videos.
Yeah, and she's just a lovely person, isn't she?
Yeah, she is. It's a really great interview, that, and yeah, I love that song as well. It's got like a nice sort of 70s, 80s type vibe to it, hasn't it?
Yeah, definitely. As I say, it's just a really nice sounding song, and really enjoyed it. What's yours?
Mine is from another local artist called The Night Cafe. Really great band from Liverpool. They're doing some really good things at the moment. The headline in the Olympia later on in the year, which is massive really for a local band to reach that sort of stage, isn't it?
Yeah, it's huge. Considering like I think Bombay Bicycle played there not too long ago, and it's a big room, isn't it?
Yeah, they've got a really a big following. I think some really loyal fans, and their track is called "Isn't." It was released a couple of weeks ago, and I think this is the first track they've released from like this new album cycle, maybe. But yeah, really fun track. It's
it's quite a fresh sound, isn't it?
Yeah, they're such a clever band. As I said in an Instagram live recently, they don't really follow the trend of your classic Liverpool band, but they've got their own unique place in Liverpool music.
Yeah, but there is. I think as well, especially with this track, there is like a Merseybeat sound to this one.
Yeah.
I don't know whether it's like just the acoustic guitar that's kind of running throughout, or whether it's. I don't know what it is. There just seems like there is a little tiny thread of Merseybeat in it, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. No, so yeah, definitely a really good track. Go and check that out.
Yeah, this week we're going through Dan Croll's released Grand Plan, and we were in a podcast when this originally got released, but he's actually doing a re-release kind of live version of the album, getting released on April the 1st this year, kind of in lieu of being able to play the album live, which is brilliant. I think it's a great move by Dan himself, because a huge part of Dan's like career is playing live, and it's what a lot of people know him for and love him for. So us being given the opportunity to listen to these songs being played live is special, I think. So yeah, we decided to crack on and give this record a run through, because to me it's an absolutely wonderful record, and we didn't get a chance to because we weren't a thing when it got released. So how did you find the record?
It's brilliant. I loved it. Dan is a solo artist, if you don't know, from Stoke, I think he's from, isn't he, originally? But he sort of based himself in Liverpool for the majority of his career, following. I think he was studying at Liverpool, wasn't he? So yeah, he's at Liverpool, and he was sort of known as a Liverpool artist around here, wasn't he? Even though he's from Stoke, and he's moved to LA in the past couple of years, and this is where this album was sort of born from, wasn't it?
Yeah, it kind of documents his decision to move to LA and then subsequently moving to LA. So
and this is his third album, is it, or fourth?
I think so. Yeah.
But yeah, I loved it. Just such a good feel to it, sort of nostalgic in a weird way. The vibes I got.
Yeah, it does definitely have, like, I think the aesthetic of it possibly is the vintagey, nostalgic kind of thing, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And but yeah, as I say, it is kind of a snapshot in Dan's life, isn't it? And it's him documenting. It's like a diary.
Yeah.
And it's so easy to fall into. It's almost like reading a book. I think listening to this record, it's like genuinely reading Dan's diary, and like it's so immersive. I think, and it's so ethereal. In like you can imagine yourself in that atmosphere, in that situation maybe that he's describing, and them feelings, and it's so accessible in it, like, because of how well it's written.
Yeah.
And the instrumentation on it is just like absolutely phenomenal, isn't it?
Yeah.
Interestingly enough, I've seen an interview, I think, where Dan says that he actually didn't really play that much music on it.
Yeah.
He was he was at the beck and call of a band that were playing it live for him in the studio, which gives it such a totally interesting, different angle to the whole thing. You know, he's written it all, but someone else is playing it. Although you can hear, like, every now and then he is playing bits and bobs, but, you know, for the most part, I just think that's such an interesting way of like production methods, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, definitely. For me, it evoked similar feelings to The Thrills, So Much for the City. So that was an album that they recorded in California, and you just get this real sun-drenched imagery, and you can tell it's recorded in California, and the same goes for this. It's really, you can imagine yourself driving around with the sunroof open in California on a bit of a road trip, listening to this album.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, these two albums definitely. I think there's like an organic. I don't know what it is. There's just something. There's like a heart and a feel, isn't there, that you only will ever get from people recording in LA. I don't know whether it's. I don't know what that is like, but or it being about LA or written in LA or whatever it is, but.
Maybe it's like a first time being there, because I think this is him moving over there was actually the first time he'd been to LA.
Quite possibly,
yeah. Like that.
And
same with the Thrills. They were like a new band, so that was probably the first time they'd been to LA. And
I mean, they got obsessed with it. Didn't they? It seems like a place where as soon as you've been, you don't really want to leave, do you?
Yeah.
I think I should go.
Yeah.
No, I mean. I think this record does so many things well. And I said to you, it's a big claim, isn't it? But for me, this record is one of the best sounding records sonically since I listened to Alabama Shake's Sound and Colour, which to me is like one of the most perfect sonically sounding records.
Yeah, it's one of your favourites, isn't it?
Yeah, and this, when I heard this, I was like, this is different. This is cool. This sounds like they've really tried to make it sound sonically. They've created a world.
Yeah.
And I think Dan does that really, really well. I think he's created different worlds in the different albums that he's created, if you know what I mean. And this one definitely has that.
Yeah.
And I think artistically, possibly, moving to LA is like a really great decision.
Yeah. It's like the
got an album out of it.
Yeah, it's the theme that runs through the record, isn't it? That relocating to a strange city, which is, it's got like actually physically getting lost in a new city, and it's also him getting feeling a bit lost in life maybe at that time as well.
Yeah, Grand Plan.
Yeah.
The title track is just all about imposter syndrome, and it seems like everyone else has got things sorted out when actually in reality, everyone else is. If you flip the mirror on that one, everyone else is thinking that at the same day. People are probably looking at Dan going, "But he's got everything sorted out him."
Yeah.
When he's actually just written an album about the fact that he hasn't, maybe,
Yeah.
or doesn't feel like he has.
Yeah, it's a very relatable track, that, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, everyone's getting married, but I barely hold a stare.
Yeah.
Everyone's getting free and liberated, and I'm chained here to the desk. Everyone's got a grand plan, but I barely come prepared.
Yeah. You just feel for him so much, and it's such a universal feeling, isn't it? Of like not quite knowing where you fit and not quite knowing what to do in a situation, and that anxiety that comes with new situations, new places, new people, and as I say, it's just so universal. It's so accessible that you can get into it. So that's definitely one of the highlights for me. I mean, just going back to like the first track on the record, it opens and it's literally like a letter to Paul McCartney, isn't it? And just so brave to do so. It's a song full of regret and making mistakes, and it's just like, this is the rest of the record. This is how open we're gonna be on this record, and I just loved how open and how honest you can be in a song. I think it comes down to when he was I think he actually won a competition in Lippert.
Yeah, to get a songwriting session or something.
With Paul McCartney. Yeah. And I think that whole thing of like, I didn't mean to dwell on yesterday. I mean, first of all, that's a great phrase. Yeah. You don't want to think about the past all the time. Yeah. Like, you don't want to dwell on... But also, like, he must have maybe just asked about yesterday so much that it kind of ruined the experience for him, maybe. I don't know, but, like...
I think it was all, like, I've listened to an interview with him, and it was all a bit rushed, and he wasn't fully prepared for it. So, yeah, as you say, it's maybe that regret of I should have said this to him, or I should have asked him this. Or,
I should have had I had this opportunity to be with him.
Maybe it looked like I wasn't interested because I'd, been rushing to get there and I was late and stuff.
But I hope so much that Paul McCartney listened or has listened to it or will listen to it. I mean, it's penned directly to him. Yeah. I really do hope that someone around him's gone, you should listen to this.
Yeah, it name checks him, doesn't it, in the start, I think.
It just says Paul, straight away. Do you remember me? Yeah, and just phenomenal opener to a phenomenal record. I think you really start getting that the sonics involved when that beat comes in, and it's like a whoa. Yeah, I that was when I was really like, ooh, there's gonna be I think there's one thing that Dan does really well over his whole career, and it's to do with beat and groove and fitting the. He manages to marry the beat and the groove so incredibly well to a song, keeping it melodic, keeping the, if you think of like Bad Boy, for example, and all these different songs, you just think, wow. Yeah,
I actually put that on my notes as well. As I said, like, he's so good at like pairing the subject matter of a song with like the right pacing and the right feel. Everything marries together really well, and it feels really intentional and from the heart.
Yeah, I actually wrote it starts the record long love affair with how Dan can craft a beat and keep you grooving throughout the whole thing. Yeah, it is the whole record is like an exercise in, I'm gonna show you how to write a drum beat. Yeah, and then keep it interesting, and then give you the misdirect later on, and then bring it back in somehow. And oh wow, absolutely brilliant. And the record, because of that, just feels like a big hug. I reckon,
Yeah, it's a lot of him working stuff out, isn't it, on the record? As well as obviously relocating to LA, which is a massive thing. It's that sort of bittersweetness of leaving your 20s as well, and growing up, and all the sort of anxieties and excitement, anticipation that comes with that as well. Yeah,
definitely. I mean, Stay in LA, I think, was one of the first ones he put out, possibly, because he kind of released it in pairs, didn't he? When he released that one, wow, I was so in. I was like, I'm so excited for this record. I really am, because the chorus of Stay in LA is just like sonically, musically perfect. It's so, it goes in the right places, it ticks all the right boxes, and it's just on its own, and it just feels like he's here with you, just singing to you. So another thing that Dan does very, very well in this record, I think, is being able to like use juxtaposition.
Yeah.
And the way he uses like light and shade, tension and release, and mostly it's like a production thing as well. Is wet and dry. So like a lot of the time the drums are like super dry, close, tight, and like everything else is, but there'll be one thing that's like drenched in reverb.
Yeah.
And it makes you go, whoa.
Yeah.
And it like forces your ear in certain places. It's kind of like framing, if you know what I mean. You know, like he's just going, well, I want to just frame that over there. Oh right, well we'll do the rest with all of this.
Yeah.
And it's so smart, and it's not the most complicated thing in the world, but when it's done right, you don't even notice that it's happening. That's how good it is on this record, I think.
Yeah, I mean, this isn't unique to this record, but I just love the tone of his voice as well. It's got this like soft, warm feel to it. He's never like belting anything out, is he? He's always in this sort of.
It's like a controlled range, isn't it?
Yeah, and touching what I was saying about the Thrills before, the similarity. I think he's got that slight American twang to his the way he sings, and it just really lends itself to how the album sounds. This Californian sort of 60s, 70s production.
Yeah, definitely. Again, with like recent records, it does have that Fleetwood Mac rumorsy kind of drum sound a lot of the time. But I think they've actually gone a little bit further with it. Yeah. It's like a little bit more pronounced, if you know what I mean. They've almost tried to make the drums sound a little bit drum machiney in parts, and like really isolate each drum and part and like cymbal, and like it's so tight and so close that it's like, I don't know, 7 or 8 different instruments that are played together, rather than like the drum set being mic'd up, if you know what I mean. It's like, oh no, the snare is its own thing and exists in its own place, and I really enjoy the fact that's how it comes across on the record. You know?
I think So Dark is a really good example of sort of that whole thing that you were just explaining, where it blends little bits of organ flourishes and subtle guitars, but the wet and dry approach and all that.
I love that song, you know.
Yeah.
I think that the whole like misdirect thing with the intro, and so it has this like really happy, finger picked, folky intro, and then it goes like super dark and minor for the verse, doesn't it? And you think, ooh, yeah. I mean, it's called So Dark, so like, you know. It kind of like, as you said before, it marries up really, really well musically to like what's going on lyrically and aesthetically in the like the space and atmosphere that he's trying to create. But I really love that it happens a few times on this record where he'll offer a question and then answer it with something that you were not expecting whatsoever. So like it'll be building up, tension, and it'll go. And it comes straight back down to like nothing, rather than like that big release and big grand like open outro, for example, that you were like wanting. It brings it. It's that minimalism kind of thing that I kind of think about when I think of people in LA that like they live in like a white box with like one white couch and like, you know, but it's that like minimalist thinking a little bit that. Less is a lot more. With this kind of thing, I think that as you touched on before, the vocal production is paramount to the sound of this record. There's like some double tracking bits, but there's the way they've got his voice sounding in that range. It allows the storytelling to be so evocative that you can't not listen to it and really it just draws you in straight away. As you said before, it's like him just reading a book to you, and it's like that. It's that close and it's that in introspective almost to yourself. He's like saying stuff that we all feel and it's been recorded in such a way that you're like, I can just relax and let him tell me how to feel for the next 45 minutes.
Yeah, it's not just like the structure within the song as well. It's the structure of the whole album is just really well crafted.
Yeah, definitely. I think
the Kings of Leon one, really, it's just like it works as a full album, listening to start to finish.
Yeah, and in that, I think he's so smart, and he has done it before, but I think it happens a lot more on this record, and it might be because of like how the record was recorded. In that it was like studio musicians that were doing it. So there might be a part of a song, for example, where there is you can't. How do I put this? There's one sound in a song where it happens once on the record, if that makes sense. So like, I've wrote it down here that he might use like one guitar sound in a middle eight in one of the songs that won't appear anywhere else on the record. Yeah, which I think is so brave, first of all, because if you get a great sound, a lot of the time musicians, they just want to mute, like they'll be like, yeah, throw it on the other track and the other track and the other track because that sounds great. When the self-discipline needed to say, when you use that on that middle eight and that middle eight only. Yeah. That is tough. That is really tough as a musician to have that discipline and to say, no, that we're not going to, that minimalism thing again, like we're going to leave it and it's going to exist in that part and that part only. And I just love that. I love that bravery and like, and then it really affects you when you hear it. Yeah. You know, so when you hear that one guitar that's like spiky and reverby and like, you've not heard that on the rest of the record. It almost is like out of context. And then you go, ooh, that was interesting. Like my ears are going, that's really interesting. I have not heard that before yet. And I just think he uses sound to tell a story as well. Yeah. And I really, really think it's almost like characters in the song. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a bit of a different sound from his previous work, isn't it? It was a bit more electro pop, synthy, back and tracky based his last two records, and yeah, as you say, this is a lot more minimalist, isn't it? And but still very Dan Croll. You can still say, and maybe that's down to, as I was saying, his voice, the tone of his voice, and he's got quite a unique sound, hasn't he? Yeah. So yeah, it's quite impressive the way you can sort of shift into a new direction, but still sound like.
And it's something that we've explored before on podcasts and on different, like maybe on the IG Live or whatever. I think when he moved to LA, by all accounts, he then got like a piano in, and a lot of the record was written on a piano. And I think, like Blossom's latest record, it starts to just like, it just gives another level and another sound to an already established artist. That it seems to be a case with a lot of like guitar based bands and acts that they then start writing on a piano, and you think, and it like opens up this world of possibility. Yeah. Almost like we should be teaching kids piano from an early age. But yeah, I you can tell that there's a lot of that piano and like Wurlitzer-y kind of sound, isn't there, on the record, and it's just so. That's where a lot of that vintagey sort of sound comes from as well, isn't it? Do you have maybe a high point of the record, a favorite track maybe?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to pick again. Similar to the Kings of Leon episode, one track in particular. Stay in LA is great. I really like So Dark, and the final track Together as well. That's obviously a really sad song. It's about grief. It's if people don't know, there's a band who are also based in Liverpool who were a Liverpool band called Hares, and they were in a tragic car crash on the last leg of their American tour, and both of them died in that car crash, including the manager. So yeah, I think Dan was quite close to them, and it hit a chord with him as well in terms of like, that could have been me and my band, and I think he felt a bit guilty. I've heard in an interview about chances he's taken to like save money or something in his touring history that could have potentially put his band in danger.
Right. Yeah.
Like, we won't get a hotel that night, we'll just drive through the night or whatever, to try and it made him reflect on a lot of stuff, I think. And I think it was in an exchange with his mum, and she texts back saying at least that they were together.
Yeah.
And obviously that forms like the main lyric of the song. But yeah, I really like that one. It's a very like powerful ode to his friends.
Like going back to like one thing that we touched on right at the top of the show, that was like honesty and like being very open. That's such a difficult thing to admit.
Yeah.
That you think that's like really brave to stand up and go like, I made a mistake.
Yeah, definitely.
That's hard, and people should be like applauded for saying that kind of thing.
100%.
And don't be wrong, like it's an awful situation. And Hares were really talented, and it's really, really sad. But being able to reflect on these things and then say, yeah, I made a mistake, and I'll never do that again. That's a huge, brave thing to do. So all credit to Dan for like being able to come out and talk about that kind of thing.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Have you got any high points in particular?
Actor with a Loaded Gun for me is just an absolute banger.
Yeah, it is.
It's a wonderful account of like, I can picture the whole night in my head. I can picture the party. I can picture him in the car on the way.
Yeah.
Worrying that he's only bringing beer and he wants to go and get flowers, and it's a wonderful account of like the anxiety that you face assimilating yourself into a new situation.
Yeah.
Again, it's such a universal thing, and there's a lyric there. Did you tell him I was coming? Did you tell him I'm new here?
Yeah.
It's like, please tell them that, because at least it's like it's like a weight off my shoulders a little bit, that when people start asking me certain things, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
And I'm new here, so I can get away with a little bit more of whatever. I don't know. I just think it's such a lovely song, that one.
Yeah.
And it's such an odd like title.
Yeah.
It instantly drew my eye in. It drew my ear in. And the middle eight opens up into this like outrageous, elaborate instrumental piece, and then just like seamlessly just like comes straight back down to like a super close finish. And I don't know, again, that juxtaposition thing of big to small, dry, wet, and the whole thing, and it's quite a positive sounding song, but the lyrics are quite negative and anxiety ridden, if you know what I mean. The whole part of the whole, like, everything in that song, I just think is so intentional and so wonderfully played and written and everything. And Work, I've really, really enjoyed Work. The groove with them hi-hats and like the BVs, the guitar, just everything. Like, there's like a really reverby piano underneath everything that is so it's at such a perfect level that you can just hear it. But when everything else is playing, it's almost like you can't hear it anymore. But without it, you'd know that it just wouldn't sound right. And the mix is so good. Yeah, there's string swells in the second verse that create like real tension and release before the second chorus. Sorry, and there's like a piano break before the second chorus. It literally goes down to that like reverby piano, and it just goes on for ages. And you're thinking, I wonder if this chorus is ever coming. But it's so, I mean, how brave is that to like build up all this tension? And like the chorus is great, so people want to hear it again. But oh no, I'm just gonna play a piano, a full instrumental. Like, it's like 25-30 seconds long of just a piano break, and then it just leads straight into like the last chorus and the outro.
Yeah.
And it's so good. It's really, really brave. I love the sound. You can hear like in that piano break, you can hear like the clothes of the person playing. It's so like close and like real sounding. Actor with a Loaded Gun and Work for me are two of the real highlights, but obviously special mention goes to like Stay in LA and all them like the kind of singles on the album as well, and Together obviously, because it's just such a wonderful song. But yeah, have you got like a mark out of 5 for this one?
Yeah, I'm gonna go 4.5 for this one. I can't really fault much with it, to be honest. As you say, it's like a diary. It's a really beautifully crafted album.
Yeah, definitely.
Really personal. The production's brilliant on it. And there's just some really great singles on it. I'm really excited to hear the full live album. He's released So Dark so far, hasn't he? As a sort of teaser to that. But yeah, I just love it. I love his voice. I love his songwriting. He's such a clever artist, and as I say, it evokes feelings of The Thrill, So Much for the City, which is one of my all-time favourite albums. So for that reason, I mean, it's right up there for me. I love anything that sort of takes me to like California. I've never been, so I have to rely on albums to take me there.
That's exactly the same mark that I was going to give it. 4.5 for me. As you say, you can't fault it. It's just a record that it's escapism, this one for me. I can it's like watching a film, it's like reading a book. It's just so evocative and so wonderful at like telling the story and the images and everything about that. So yeah, for me this is definitely a 4.5 out of 5. Well done, Dan. This is such a good record, and I really do like hope that he gets like what he wants out of the live album release, and I hope that he can play it all live soon, because I want him to come over here, and I really want him to play this live, and I want to be in that room, because what a phenomenal record to be able to listen to. Married with his with the other tracks on his back catalogue. It's gonna be one hell of a show, So yeah, I'm really excited to see this one live in the near future, hopefully.
100%, definitely. Well, that was a fun episode, wasn't it? A really good album to get stuck into. That was
and it's one that like I just listen to all the time. I've lived with this one for a year, and as I say, I've really bonded with the record, and it's one that like I know quite a lot about, and it's like a really comfortable show for me to do this one. So yeah, really fun episode, really great album. If you haven't listened to it already, I suggest you do, because it's so good. Speaking into this camera here, it's so good. Listen to it. And yeah, if you enjoyed it, give us a comment down below. We really want to make a community of people that we can talk to about all of this kind of stuff, and we want to hear your opinions on these as well. So again, leave a comment if you've listened to this record, what your favourite track is. Also, if you've got any albums that you want us to cover in the future, we're always looking for the next record, aren't we?
Yeah. It's quite hard to choose sometimes, isn't it? Because there's so many good ones out there. But,
you get buyer's remorse. It's like searching for something on Netflix. You just carry on flicking for hours and hours. But it's nice to actually land on stuff. And we are taking, we do listen to people's advice when they give us suggestions. So if you do have a suggestion, leave it down in the comments. If you're listening on Spotify or any of the podcast places, you can send us a message on Instagram, on Facebook. You can email us. All of these websites and emails, they will be in the descriptions of wherever you are. And this has been a really good show. Nice one. And again, it's nice to be with you. Actually, you're a real person, aren't
you? We are allowed.
We're in a bubble. It's fine. But yeah. Really great one. Nice one for listening. Thanks. Thanks so much for listening and watching. We'll see you next time.
See ya.